Welcome to Top Tier Wrestling, your ultimate destination for all things AEW and WWE. Whether you're a hardcore wrestling fanatic or just a casual viewer, we've got you covered with the latest news, in-depth show reviews, and our unfiltered opinions on everything happening in the world of professional wrestling. Join us as we dive into the high-octane action, dramatic storylines, and backstage buzz of AEW and WWE. Get ready to step into the ring with us and stay on top of the wrestling world. This is Top Tier Wrestling. Welcome to Top Tier Wrestling. I'm your host, Josh, the Titan of the Turnbuckles, and joining me, as always, is my amazing co-host, the High Priestess of Power Bombs, Dawn. Tonight, we're covering the WWE RAW global premiere on Netflix. Let's get into it.
Ooh, cha.
This was an event. This was less of a Raw and more like a, hey, we're going to do a PLE.
Yeah. Honestly, you know what? That's it. Podcast over. Good night, everyone.
No podcast, just beginning. Let's
honestly,
just say
it was really, really good. It just impressive. Everything. It was a spectacle.
yeah, it really was. And not for nothing, the opening segment where Triple H is talking about like kind of the historical and cultural impact that the WWE has had and pro wrestling in general has had was an absolute spectacular opener.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they were broadcasting it, or I guess projecting it to a Titantron that was, you know, kind of a perfect square around the ring, and then they drop it and it's Triple H just standing there.
Surprise,
And-
motherfucker.
Yeah, surprise. And Triple H just is like the total ringmaster in this moment, welcoming everybody to the sold out Intuit Arena in Los Angeles and discussing how, you know, they're in the Netflix era, and this is the very first time that Monday Night Raw has been able to be broadcast live globally, and that's due to their partnership with Netflix. And then, of course, he asks, you know, everybody, are you ready? And then he's like, welcome to Monday Night Raw. Welcome to the Netflix era. And it was amazing. What a show opener. Triple H still got it.
Yeah. He hyped them all up properly. Proper hype.
Proper hype.
Hype.
And then to keep the ball rolling, if that wasn't good enough, I mean, that opener was magnificent. If you've been a pro wrestling fan for a long, long time, I mean, that was really kind of moving. It was fantastic.
That should have got you in the feels.
It did. It got you in the feels when you realize just how, like, hand in hand, you know, pro wrestling and your life have walked together, and how much of a cultural impact professional wrestling has kind of had. It's a little profound, and so I was really impressed by that show opener. It was a nice homage to the art form and the business of being a professional wrestler.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And it did. It almost got me. I was like, you're not gonna do this to me, WWE. y'all not finna do this to me. That was me.
yeah. No, there were feels. It was a little raw.
Yeah. Oh God.
Seriously,
good night, everyone.
No. Show's just getting started. And moving on from that fantastic opener, we are immediately greeted by the final boss. The Rock comes out. Only I don't think he's in character, or rather not in the final boss character. He came out to talk about how, you know, a long time ago when he was just a little rock, a pebble, and he used to travel the highways all across the country with his dad, WWE Hall of Famer Soul Man Rocky Johnson. There was only two ways to watch the WWE. You either bought a ticket or you watched it on Saturday morning. And even though you can still buy a ticket, watching it now is a completely different story. Because for the first time ever around the world, everyone's able to watch WWE RAW on Netflix.
Yeah.
And so he pretty much wanted to echo the sentiments that Triple H had given about how big of a deal it is that the WWE has come to Netflix, and that, you know, for the first, you know, how big and monumental a moment it is, because I suppose it could be lost on folks that it's a big deal that globally the, you know, Monday Night Raw is airing live everywhere.
Yeah. Dramatic pause.
He
everywhere, you fucks.
Everywhere. And so he, you know, he goes on to say he'll be watching real closely the upcoming match between his cousin Roman Reigns, the original tribal chief, and Solo Sikoa. And then he kind of gives the people what they came to see. He hit him with the "if you smell what the Rock is cooking." Oh, and earlier in his promo, he said, what did he say? He said, finally, WWE is back on Netflix. And the crowd just wasn't like, they were like, that's not the finally we were waiting for. And so he's like, no, that's bullshit. I'll do the real one. Here it goes. And then he hits him with the finally, The Rock has come back to Los Angeles. And so that's what I mean. Like, he wasn't really in the final boss character. He was The Rock. Yeah. And I think that was good for the crowd. Like, they really appreciate it. The Rock could be the biggest heel on earth. And Roman Reigns just showed us this. He was the biggest heel for like 4 years. And then like he was gone for 3 seconds before the crowd was like, we miss Roman. So it would not take anything to get the crowd to sing along with The Rock ever.
Yeah.
But then, to my surprise, the first match of the night, and I was a little surprised it was going to be the first match, is Roman Reigns with the wise man Paul Heyman, of course, versus Solo Sikoa in the tribal combat match for the Ulafala. And I was like, wow, right out the gate then, huh?
Yeah.
And Solo comes out first, then Roman comes out. The crowd's booing Solo and popping for Roman. And
like they do.
Solo relinquishes the Ulafala and hands it to Paul Heyman to hold on to. And then they proceed to have a match. And for a good 2/3 of this was a nice match between Solo and Roman. Both men were looking very good. Solo drilled Roman with a really nice spinning solo onto the brand spanking new announce desk. And it was going along pretty good. I mean, it's a no rules match. The only rule is that there has to be a winner and there has to be a loser, right? In the tribal combat.
Yeah.
So we end up with some traded chair shots. I want to say Solo beat Roman Philly with a chair first, and then Roman got his comeuppance and started beating Solo back with a chair. And then I want to say Roman goes out of the ring and gets a table and sets it up in the ring. But before he can do anything with it, I want to say Solo jumps him. And there's a point where Solo tosses Roman in the corner and gets up to like give him the 10 punches to the face kind of a scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And then Roman basically drills him with a massive power bomb. They said it was a last ride. I was looking at it. I don't know if he meant it to be a last ride or just a power bomb. To me, it just looked like a power bomb because I didn't really think he got him up for the full last ride.
I remember the one. I remember what you're talking about. It did not look like a last ride. It just looked like a powerbomb.
I mean,
I
no offense. I mean, nothing against like I say,
no,
just a power bomb. It was a fantastic power bomb, but
no, not at all. But there's a difference between the two,
yep,
and he was not going for a
last
goodness,
ride.
yeah, he was not going for a last ride. It didn't look like a last ride. It looked like a power bomb. Nothing wrong with the power bomb though. Good,
Yeah.
and it was a good
No,
power
it,
bomb.
it was a
Okay.
fantastic release power bomb. The table went in 1,000 different pieces everywhere.
Yeah.
And then Roman goes to go for the 3 count, and that's when, of course, as we knew they inevitably would, the Solo's bloodlines shows up.
Yeah.
Initially, it's Tamatonga who pulls the referee out of the ring so he can't complete the count. And then Jacob Fatu steps into the ring, and to me, it looked like he was going to try and super kick Reigns, but I think the bits of table were in his way, so he sort of improvised like a jumping slap to
Yeah.
close the distance, and then went around to the other side and super kicked Reigns in the face.
Yeah, but that table being in pieces was definitely in the way. I remember watching him try to get around it and then do a move. And
Yep,
what's his name?
Tamatonga.
Tamatonga
Yeah. He
was
proceeded to
just,
start pulling out chunks of table to get it out
yeah,
of the damn way.
good looking out, my man. Good looking out, you know?
Yep, yep. And after hitting Reigns with the super kick, Jacob drills him with a really good looking impaler DDT. And I think he also hit him with the double jump moonsault. And after that, Sikoa goes for the Samoan spike. And we're like, oh, we're doing this crap again. But Roman kicks out.
Oh, we own that. We own that bullshit.
And I remember, I think after that, Jacob is like, "What? That's bullshit!" Like he's getting in the ref's face, and it looked like it looked like Solo was trying to calm Jacob down, only to turn around and drill the referee
Right in
with
the
a
throat.
Samoan spike,
Yeah.
and it gave me such joy. It gave me so much joy. Um, and I feel like I should explain why it gave me so much joy. Dawn and I play a lot of WWE 2K24, and the motherfucking referees in that game. I don't know if it's because the ring
Oh,
is too small or what, but the referees are a combination of either always in your damn way or freaking retarded when they're supposed to do something.
my
And
pure
so
hatred.
I have developed a desire to see referees get dropped because of that game. And so this gave me nothing but bliss in my heart.
I mean, seriously, guys, they're extra. They are out of pocket with every interaction. I mean, it's not our fault to hate them. Like,
No, if 2K25 does anything, please give us a virtual count and a virtual
I
rift and maybe expand the ring a bit. That ring is a little too tight, especially when you're trying to have like 6 and 8 man matches. There you go. I don't
you
know
ain't
if
wrong.
anyone anywhere from 2K is going to hear any of this, but if they do, that's my top thing. If you fix nothing else, get the
Yeah.
ref out of the ring and expand the ring a hair. I
Listen,
have a
he's
laundry list,
unnecessary. He's
but that's it.
unnecessary.
Yeah,
Just think
especially in
about it.
multi-man matches, or do like what I've seen happen in more often in AEW because they like those big like 6, 8, and 10 man matches. But the refs, like a couple of them, sometimes will just stand outside the ring because there's so many people in the ring, and they'll do their
Yeah.
refing from the sidelines.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense, you know? And playing the game, I know, guys. We were supposed to be talking about Raw, and we will. We'll get back to it. Shut up,
This
calm
is
down.
WWE relevant.
Yeah, right. So calm down. Hold your tits. But honestly, the ref is an unneeded situation, especially in 8 man. If you ever want to just, I don't know, rage for no reason, like if you're like, man, I didn't get angry today. How can I get angry quickly? Then get your little character, right? Log into the game and play an 8 man. If you're at work, if you're sitting somewhere and you're going, man, I wish I was at home playing WWE 2K24 right now, then go home, and load that bad boy up. The second you do, go directly to 8-man. Do not play anything else. You go directly to 8-man and you just enjoy that. Just enjoy it. Okay? That's
where
all I'm gonna
where
say.
you can battle with your opponents, the ref, the targeting, the hit collision detection. Anyway, that's a whole
Yeah.
separate podcast. If I was just to give the rundown of ways I'd love to see 2K improved. All right, for the record, like the series, like the WWE, just really want to see some improvements to the 2K25 brand, because I play the shit out that game. But I digress. Back to this spectacular match that was going on. At least it was spectacular until the the new bloodline jumped in. However, it did not last long or take long for Sami Zayn and Jimmy Uso to run down to the ring.
Yeah.
And they start evening the playing field a fair bit. I want to say Jimmy immediately like super kicks Solo Sikoa, and that puts Solo in the corner where Zayn delivers the haluva kick, and Reigns follows that up with a spear. And then a ref comes running down to the ring, and he ran right past Jacob Fatu, and I'm like, when I saw that situation developing, I thought for sure Jacob's just gonna like reach out and super kick this ref, but it didn't happen.
I really thought he was gonna give him the foot.
Yeah. But Solo managed to kick out at 2. And then Sammy and Jimmy, I want to say, suicide dive and jump out of the ring onto Tama and Jacob Fatu. And Reigns is setting up to go for a spear. And I was like, oh, okay, this is his moment. And that's when motherfucking Kevin Owens shows up.
Motherfucking Kevin Owens, guys.
Like, he was like an RKO. Like, he came from out of nowhere. And as Reigns is trying to set up for his spear, Kevin Owens drills him with a stunner. And so Sikoa, goes for the pin. And Roman kicks out while Kevin Owens is still in the ring. So Owens just starts beating on him.
Kevin Owens, you garden gnome looking son of a bitch.
Canadian garden gnome.
You Canadian gnome. How dare you? How very dare you, sir? That's all
Indeed.
I have to say.
But then Owens starts to set Roman up for the package pile driver. But Cody Rhodes, who like earlier, like just like a segment ago, was literally sitting behind the announce desk with Brandy, and I'm like, where's he gonna come from? Is he gonna jump over the guardrail? Somehow he like speed racered his ass to the back so that he could come down the entrance ramp. And so he runs. Go ahead.
Put your ass on a man-made Roomba and just glide you all the way to the back that quick? Like, what the?
Seriously, like he bulleted. Because he was there for the segment with The Rock.
You must get a mountain lion for you. Whenever you're a champ, you get a rideable mountain lion that you can gallop on.
That's off camera. Why everyone wants to be the champ. I knew it. I knew it was something.
It's
Cody
always
Rhodes,
pussy.
Every time. Just a big kitty. All right. But Cody Rhodes comes and stops the package pile driver and goes like all out after Kevin Owens and like throws him into the crowd and starts just punching him out of the ring.
That man was jumping off of ropes in his church shoes.
He was. That was before we got to that point. Sorry, I kind of skipped ahead, but like Owens attempted to throw him to the ropes for presumably the pop-up powerbomb he likes to do, but Cody Rhodes was like, nah, and went for a Cody cutter and drilled him, and that's what got him out of the ring, and that's when, he punched him like all the way through the crowd back to the back somewhere.
Little feet just slipping on the ropes, just gliding.
Yeah, because he wasn't dressed to compete. You're right.
No,
he was still wearing like his vest and his button down.
He jumped on them ropes with them shoes. It was like he was trying to start a fire with some flint. I'm like, oh boy, make it out, and he did.
Yeah, and so after all of that chaos, Roman Reigns takes out after Solo to try and hit him with a Superman punch, but Solo blocks it and then immediately goes for the Samoan spike, but Reigns ducks it and then hits him with a spear and then, hits him with a second spear.
Interceptor, Corey.
A second spear. And this is where he picks up the victory and is now most assuredly, as a possessor of the Ulafala, the one and the only tribal chief. But
now there was just an air. Just before you get, and I know what you're about to say, but just immediately after he did so, I don't know how you felt about it, but when Paul Heyman started to get into the ring with the Waffle or whatever, there was like an air, like just something felt off. Like I just kept waiting. I found myself waiting for something to happen, for the other shoe to drop or something. I just felt hesitant about everything after that. Like even when Heyman was about to give him the red hot chili pepper necklace.
The red hot chili pepper necklace, yeah.
Yeah, when he was about to give it away now, I was like, what's about to happen? That's all I want to say. Please,
I felt the same way because when Heyman stepped into the ring, the way he was looking at Solo was almost like disappointed. And I'm like, is Paul Heyman Trey Roman Reigns right here?
Like, is he in on this?
But then The Rock, then before Paul could give him the Ulafala, The Rock starts coming down to the ring. And Roman's, like, he's not looking up the ramp at first. But then he hears the crowd all popping and he's looking around and he finally catches sight of him and he's like looking at The Rock. And The Rock makes his way into the ring and asks Paul Heyman if he could do the honors.
The Rock has villain face, by the way.
Shit. Because here's one thing I neglected to mention during The Rock's promo, but they kept saying that The Rock had been given the title by some of his Samoan relatives as High Chief Sayuli. I hope I didn't mispronounce that. So technically speaking, while Roman Reigns was given the Ulafala by his elders and is a tribal chief in that regard, The Rock has undergone a similar thing, and they made a point to say that. So in this moment, I'm like, is this where The Rock is gonna be like, you're not the only tribal chief?
Yeah, is he King Rock? Is he King Chief Rock?
King Rockameamea?
Hey, is he King Chief Rock? Like what is it?
Yeah. So, but
is he the final tribal chief?
Right, you're the original tribal chief, but I'm the final tribal chief. Maybe that's where they're going with it.
But he came out when he came out. He had a different facial expression from when he came out originally. When he came out in the beginning as The Rock to tell his Little Pebble story, he was The Rock at that particular time. But when he came out to allegedly give Roman Reigns his falafel waffle, he had a villain face. He was making
his way.
Yes, yeah, go ahead.
He made his way down as the final boss.
Yes.
But so here's where at this point we're all thinking this, right? Because it's like the WWE tends to telegraph certain things, like they'll make a point of saying something earlier to foreshadow something that happens later, and I'm like, wow, you just pointed out that he is now actually a tribal chief.
Yeah.
So here comes the tension, right?
Right. You're setting off our autism.
But no,
we're gonna start screaming.
The Rock actually comes to the ring and asks Paul Heyman if he can do the honors of putting the Ulafala around Roman's neck. And I'm like, oh, here it is. And he's going to reach up like he's going to do it, but then put it on his own neck, right?
Yep.
Nope. None of that. He actually just takes the Ulafala and puts it around Roman's neck. And I think they hugged. And then The Rock sort of chilled while Roman did his victory lap and put his ones up. And we were both like, we're sitting here looking at like the different times it would be perfect for The Rock to run out of the corner and like rock bottom the crap out of him, and it never happened. And we were like, what?
Yeah.
So they were teasing that. They knew what they were doing.
I think absolutely.
So phenomenal opening match, phenomenal opener. And your winner, and of course, the one, the only, and the original tribal chief, Roman Reigns, is once again the head of the table.
Yeah.
And you know, while The Rock came out and put the Ulafala around his neck, I didn't see the new upstart bloodline or Solo Sikoa acknowledge Roman Reigns. And
Yeah.
Solo said on SmackDown he was going to do that. He's a lion ass bitch.
Lion ass lion. He's a lion ass lion looking liar.
Liar. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see next SmackDown. Maybe he was too beat up and has to like regain his senses to properly acknowledge the real tribal chief.
Yeah. Maybe he needs a moment to collect himself. And his men. His minions. Mayhaps.
Yep.
But this puts a very interesting dynamic into the bloodline again, and I'm very curious to see where they're going to go and how they plan to get there. Yeah.
I'm still very of the mind that all roads ultimately lead to The Rock versus Roman.
I feel like that's going to be the outcome. Yeah, I was just very shocked by nothing happening tonight.
Well, if they slow burn it a little bit, it's not a bad thing.
Unless it happened in the post show, you know what I mean? Like that could have been, it could be popping off right now for all I know.
The post show is actually going on while we're recording this. So if that
Right.
happens,
That's what I yeah.
oh well, but like we wanted to be like record while it's hot. We literally just finished this. But yeah, maybe. But I have a feeling this will be something that, you know, we'll hear more about
For sure.
next week on Raw. And on SmackDown. But immediately following that, we get another teaser vignette. And when we were looking at it, I thought it looked like Rey Fenix, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
But I'm reading that it might have been Pentagon, and that would make sense too, even though it looked like Rey Fenix, because they've been hinting at Pentagon, you know, for a couple weeks now. And what we know to be really actually true is that Rey Fenix is not yet out of his contract with AEW.
Yeah.
So it would make more sense that it's Pentagon. And there's another thing that happens a little later that leads me to believe that we might be seeing Pentagon very soon. Penta El Cero Miedo.
Yeah, okay. So when I saw that, that's who I thought. But I always get them confused. I always get Penta mixed up with Rey. And I know Rey Fenix is still under contract. So I was thinking about El Zero Mero.
Penta? Yeah.
Penta. That's what I was thinking about. I
Well-
don't know why I do that.
And I'm curious if they're going to have him come over as Pentagon Jr. or if they're just going to stick with Penta. Because I almost get lost. Like, I'm so used to him being like Penta El Cero Miedo that when I see Pentagon Jr., my brain has to stop and kind of suss out that, oh, you're talking about Penta. Because we became familiar with both him and Rey Fenix through AEW. So he's been Penta over there. He's been Penta El Cero Miedo, and he's, you know, no fear, you know, El Cero Miedo. And I'm psyched about it because it kind of came true. They've had Kevin Owens sort of reintroduce the pile driver, and more importantly, reintroduce the package pile driver, which is also Penta's finisher move, which he calls the fear factor.
Yeah.
And now there's a possibility that Penta will be able to actually do that, as will Kevin Owens, you know, if they allow a return to these pile drivers. And so that'll be amazing. Although, I guess they'll have to be careful with it because apparently one not even package pile driver, just sort of a stump puller pile driver, like annihilated Randy Orton.
Because, I mean, they're currently selling the pile drivers and the package pile drivers as like doomsday devices.
Like a career ender.
So I'm not sure if they're gonna let Penta come out and drop like his first match in WWE.
I
Package
don't
pile
know.
drive.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll just have to see, but the option exists because I mean, they're letting Kevin Owens, tease it a lot. I mean, he
Yeah,
already
but they're
did
but
it
they're
to
also
Roman.
they're also treating him like a psychopath for doing it. Like they're still calling that move like a career-ending move. Although it's ended technically no one's career. Like I don't think Randy is done, and
No, I
we already know that Cody isn't. So they
yeah,
keep calling it that. I don't think those words mean what they think they mean.
no. Cody took the package pile driver and was back like 2 weeks later. Randy
No, my
took
man came back the same night. He was like, "Bruh."
yeah, Randy took a reggae pile driver and has been gone for
Uh,
weeks. But apparently, he really wanted he had Christmas plans.
he
So
had an extended Christmas vacay. Okay,
yeah,
he was gonna go to the Bahamas, and he'll be back next week or something. He'll be back. He'll be back eventually.
yeah.
He's gonna
I
travel
have
the
a
world,
feeling.
travel the
Yeah,
world for Christmas.
I have a feeling we'll be seeing Randy again soon. Now that we're past New Year, and after the Penta vignette, we're informed that in 2026, which is a little far, considering 2025 just got started, and the 2025 Royal Rumble hasn't even happened yet, but we are informed that the 2026 one will be taking place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I guess Riyadh, Saudi Arabia poured a lot of money on the WWE.
That's great. I'm happy for them. That's so everyone's so creative. Okay. Um
Yeah. Yep.
run away from that topic. Um After that they showed us some people in the crowd. No one that you care
Uh,
about, just like Rey
no one,
Mysterio,
just
LA
Ray.
Knight, the War Raiders, some dude named Fluffy,
Um,
Ashton Loser, uh, Michael J.
from
Some
SNL, right? Yeah.
yeah. And and some young man named Whale.
I thought he was the little robot named Wally.
He is
Oh, okay.
a young man by the name of Wale. Walu.
Yeah, Walu.
Nice young man.
Well, to keep that energy high, because I mean, we've already been hit with Triple H giving us like a Ring Master General intro, followed by The Rock, followed by the Tribal Chief winning back
Mhm,
as Ulafala. And
mhm.
it's like, whew, where do we go from here? Well, apparently, John Cena is where we go from here. And you know what? I don't know about you, but I saw him. I saw
I
him
did.
when the music hit, the crowd exploded, and he made his way to the ring. And he proceeds to talk about how grateful he is for everything. And of course, mentions how cool it is that Monday Night Raw, for the first time ever, thanks to Netflix, is being able to be experienced at, around the world. And he wanted to thank Los Angeles. He said, that's where the prototype was born. That's where he won his first championship. And kind of came up in LA. And he said, it's pretty cool that LA is going to be my first stop in kind of my, last tour. And, he's talking about, lots of names are being thrown around about who he'll face, names like Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, Logan Paul, Gunter, Cody Rhodes. And a lot of people are also wondering when he might be making a record breaking 17th time world championship. Or becoming the 17-time world champion. And he goes on to say, I got to be honest, I don't really see that happening. And he says, well, look, I know around here they don't like you to say never. They say never. So shy of a miracle, he doesn't see how that would ever happen. And the crowd's all like, you deserve it. And he's like, nah, my time is up. Their time is now. And he says, don't get me wrong, we're going to have fun. It's going to be a great year. But as far as that 17th champion is concerned, he just doesn't see how it's going to happen. And then he goes, well, I mean, he'd have to win the Money in the Bank briefcase because he can't just come in and immediately shoot to the top as the number one contender. So he'd have to either win Money in the Bank or the Elimination Chamber or, get into and win the Royal Rumble. And then he stops and he's like, wait a minute, maybe I can win the Royal Rumble. And he says, I know it's a long shot, but, it's like a lottery ticket, but, you can't win if you don't play.
Yep.
And he said,
audience losing its mind.
they're
losing
really
their mind.
hyped about this idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he says, I was just going to show up at the Rumble and do the whole you can't see me thing and leave, but I should play, right? I should be in the Royal Rumble. It's his last year to even be in the Royal Rumble. There's not going to be a maybe next time. So he ends up like in the ring kind of, looking like he talks himself into wanting to go into the Royal Rumble and potentially end up in a world championship match at WrestleMania, which would be pretty cool, I've got to admit. And if Gunter can hang on to the world title, then it'll be Gunter and Cena at WrestleMania. And so Cena closes out by saying he's not just going to the Rumble, he's going to win the Rumble. You want some? Come get some. And the crowd just loses their shit. And then he heads out for the classic John Cena exit. He's hitting hands on the way out and then just walks back facing the audience to the back. There you go.
After that, we got a nice Logan Paul vignette, if you will, a vignette.
Yeah. Speaking of Logan Paul, just briefly, I couldn't help but notice that the center of the ring was not adorned with Prime, and I don't recall. Maybe I just didn't notice it, or maybe nobody got hit with it, but I didn't see the Prime drink station either.
No, it wasn't there.
Yeah, it was Fortnite in the middle of the ring.
Yeah, and and he even touched a little on that in his vignette when he made statements like no more BS to focus on, like he's focusing solely on wrestling. And I'm like, oh.
I remember focusing on the fact that he was like, hey, I'm good at this. I've been good since I started. I'd hate me too. And I was sitting there thinking,
who hates you?
Nobody hates Logan Paul for anything he's done in the WWE. It's all shit that's outside of WWE that earns Logan Paul hatred. No one is mad at you for, if you're doing a good thing in your life, it's what you're doing in the WWE, dude.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was like, oh boy. But I guess they're just gonna lean into it, which sounds like WWE. They're just gonna lean onto it. But I mean, basically, his vignette was about him coming to WWE. Yeah, about coming to WWE full time and being a full time wrestler.
Hey, wasn't Vignetti the original tag partner for Shawn Michaels?
It was. You nailed it.
I thought it sounded familiar.
Nailed it. After that, we saw more people in the audience that we didn't care about. People like Bianca Belair, and Naomi, or Cakes and Bouncy Cakes.
Cakes and Bouncy Cakes. Yeah, how can you not care about those two?
I'm kidding, guys. We saw X-Pac, X-Pac, sorry, Shinsuke Nakamura.
Shinsuke Nakamura. Yeah,
that's correct.
And Shinsuke was completely out of makeup and dressed to the nines, and I'm like, y'all are killing his kayfabe. Come on, yeah. He's supposed to be like an evil undead samurai. Come on.
Yeah, and my man was just there trying to watch a match. I think he should have come in disguise or something, like just wore a hoodie or something. or just wore his makeup because you know they were just gonna put him directly on blast. But he was dressed like he was there for an award ceremony or some shit.
Yeah, yeah.
I was,
You
but
look good.
so was Bianca and Naomi. I'm like, motherfuckers, is it prom? Um,
They
Seth
were
Green.
adorbies, you know it.
Speaking of prom, Seth Green was there. And Macaulay Culkin. My boy.
I was surprised. I thought he would have been home alone.
Okay.
Someone named O'Shea Jackson Jr. Who's that?
Yeah, O'Shallahan Jackson Jr. and Topanga, Kansas. Um,
Yeah, I remember when they introduced her, we both looked at this woman and we were like, she looks familiar. What was she in? Apparently, that actress was the gal who played Topanga on like the Boy Meets World, like the later one.
that's right. She
The one that was
was.
like I can't remember. Was it a spinoff of the Wonder Years, or did it
No,
just have the younger brother of like
I.
Fred Savage in it?
Okay, you're asking me to remember way too much, and that was way too many marijuana sticks ago. Um,
Anyway, it was like a sitcom. That's where we recognized her from.
yeah. And I remember because I remember then that she reminded me. I was like, I remember her. I remember Kid Face. So, and we were like, yeah, we're not like baby, but like Kid Face, like 11 to 14 and whatnot. And yeah, that was her. And you're right, that was the girl that I always thought looked like she was slowly transforming into a werewolf. But I mean,
Oh, Fanga Topanga.
a finger to paint in a good way though, because I think she's pretty. I think, but I mean, she had very striking features that reminded me of a wolf, and I was into it. Okay, so the second match of the night,
Mm-hmm.
Liv
Banger.
Liv Morgan, with Dominic Mysterio and Raquel Rodriguez versus Rhea Ripley. She was all by herself. All by herself. Okay, anyway. And
Um,
it was.
she was there with everybody in the arena cheering for her and her brutality. That's all she needs.
That's true. She was definitely there with her brutality and her kicky leg. Um, and
Yeah.
this was actually a pretty damn good match. The person that I looked at the hardest and scrutinized the most was Liv Morgan. Um, and I can honestly say that she did a bang up job. The only person that made her look weird or in any semi-sexual way, honestly, was the cameraman.
Yeah, right at
Because
the beginning when she was getting into the ring. Yeah.
yeah, my man was a little too comfortable with her nether regions. When she pounced onto Dominic there at the beginning, we honestly expected the cameraman to just slide right under, like just go right
Slide
underneath
into the ring for an upskirt shot. Yeah.
and just be like, oh, because I mean, my man was about her for JJ, just the whole region there, and it was a little too much. We were like, bruh, can you just please,
Yeah. Yeah.
can
The gyno cam was real.
please? I mean, like he was a little personal, and that wasn't the only person that he was personal with. Whoever was
No.
all out there on the apron, whatever cameraman that was, I'm pretty sure there's more than one. But one of those fuckers ain't like the others. Okay?
Yeah, it's like I get that you're right there at ringside and somebody comes to the corner or something like that, you're gonna end up with
Yeah.
butt kind of in your face, but that's when you sort of put that into the bottom, maybe left or right corner to
Yeah,
get the
just
shot of the ring. You should
just
not
kind
just
of
be
move
right
around.
in the gooch, whoever's it is.
Yeah, just move around. Don't
It's like, were you guys MTV
yeah,
like cameramen?
don't zoom in on the taint. It's not your moment to shine. That's not when you go, oh yeah,
Yep.
that's right. I've always wanted to get a very tasteful taint shot. Now's my moment. Here, let me spoiler alert. There is no tasteful tank shot.
Nope.
Stop it.
But
Just knock it off. But
this was a
aside
brutal
from
match.
aside from that, this was a great fucking match. And again, like I said, the person that I looked at the most and scrutinized the most was Liv, because I've seen what Rhea can do. Rhea can go. She consistently gets in the ring and puts on a banger. Liv Morgan sometimes does not. This was not one of those times. And she has been, since she's had that belt, like I'd say that since the second half of her having that belt, she has really stepped up and come
Yeah.
out of her
Yep.
comfort zone with a lot of her matches. One, I think I could go on and on about the match, but I think my favoriteest part was just her was Liv Morgan screaming in the face of the ref.
Oh
Just
yeah.
just open mouth wild hyena scream.
Just
Right.
harpy shrieked right in the ref's ear.
Just right in the, and I'm like that. For some reason, it cracked me up. Like I wouldn't. I'm not gonna lie. If somebody just screamed in my face, I don't think I'd find it amusing. But if somebody just screamed at somebody else's face, yeah, I'm gonna laugh. And that was a laughing situation to me. To me.
It was pretty funny because it
And the
was
ref
just
had
like,
her hands up, like, I don't want no smoke, crazy lady. I'm just trying to tell you, you can't stump somebody in the corner for 10 minutes. That's all. Like she did, like all she did was count. She got the 4. She didn't even, she didn't even be like, Liv, fuck off. She was just like 4, and Liv was like, what?
yeah. No, Liv looked very credible in this match,
She
and
did.
Rhea really delivered. Like she opened the match with like the first big move was that she just grabbed Liv by the throat with both hands, lifted her up, and then just pitched her to the ground. Like just a full on two-handed choke slam kind of a situation.
Yeah.
And I think a little bit after that, they wound up outside and Rhea Ripley straight up powerbombed Liv Morgan onto the announce table. And those announce tables are stacked. They did not budge.
Oh no, there was no breaking tonight. But I knew that these tables were built different when I saw the shine on them holes at the beginning. I was like, nah, these aren't breakable. They put some lacquer on these bitches. Like
Yeah, these tables ain't going nowhere. But really solid match. There was another point where I want to say Liv Morgan is trying to do some sort of move, and Rhea Ripley like grabs hold of her and puts her in front of her, and it sort of looks almost like the setup for Jaded that Jade Cargill does, that big face buster. But instead of doing that, she gets a half Nelson and a chicken wing, and then puts her feet on the ground, and then proceeds to like just a huge half and half suplex. And I was like, wow, that was amazing. And, and Michael Cole, who perpetually cannot call the right move, is like, oh my God, a German suplex. And I'm like, no.
Oh God.
Nope, that was a half and half suplex, Michael. And I'm like, hey, Pat, you want to tell the new guy how to call the moves right? It was wild that Michael Cole can call so many moves incorrectly.
He's doing the best he can.
He's been doing this for like 40 years. He should know these things backwards and forwards.
I mean, you're not wrong. Ain't wrong.
Yeah. But I'm more than willing to finish the play-by-play, but I didn't want to cut you off. Was there more that you wanted to speak to?
No, please continue. All I really wanted to point out was that she did a great job, and the only time that she was made to look like an object or be objectified was, I honestly feel, the cameraman got a little too personal. Yeah, that was it. So please go ahead, lay it on us.
Well, having
Triggers.
hit most of those high spots, the next part that really gets good is after that big half and half suplex. Ripley goes for the riptide, but Morgan lands back on her feet and just drills Ripley with like a really good backstabber. Take notes, Carlito. Hers is better than yours. And then Morgan drives Ripley shoulder first into like the middle turnbuckle. And I want to say hits a really nice tornado DDT out of the corner. And then Morgan goes to follow that up, and Ripley headbutts her way out of the corner. Then I want to say Morgan hits a Enziguri and tries to do a short armor of some kind. Or actually, I think she tried to Irish whip her, and Ripley stopped it, like how The Rock used to do. Like, just stops it and turns it into a short arm.
Yeah.
And slides between Morgan's legs, like under, like just right underneath, and hanging on to the arm that she was still holding, ends up going between the legs and right up behind her for the pump handle necessary for her to hit Riptide, but only gets a 2 count. And Ripley is like, what? Because like no one out of Riptide, no one. And it's at this point that Dominic Mysterio slides the Women's World Championship into the ring deliberately, like in sight of the referees. So the referee is like, what? Foreign object. And so she goes to the opposite side of the ring to deal with that, which allows Rodriguez to throw a chair kind of into the ring. And then she starts to get up on the apron, and Ripley kicks Rodriguez off the apron. But that puts Ripley right up against the ropes. So she turns around, and Morgan drills her with Oblivion onto a steel chair. And we're like, oh, God, not this bullshit again. Fortunately, she ends up getting only a 2 count. And we were like, oh, whew. But Rhea Ripley's pretty messed up, which actually allows Liv Morgan, little tiny Liv Morgan, to successfully land all 3 of the 3 Amigas. And then she drags Ripley into the corner and goes up to the top rope, and a la, Dirty Dom and Eddie Guerrero hits a frog splash. And I had never seen Liv Morgan try to do a frog splash. And so she did a pretty good one for the first time I've ever seen her go for one.
Thanks.
And she tries to get the pin off of that, but again, only a 2 count. And there's a brief exchange, and Rhea ends up kind of hanging on the ropes again, and Morgan tries once more for the Oblivion, but Rhea like just overpowers her and kind of walks her away from the ropes and one arms her. It's almost like an Uranagi or a side slam. It was like one of those 2 kinds of moves, but she basically one arms her into the ground with like this just ferocious looking slam. And then she hits a Riptide, but then rolls Liv kind of back up to her feet and hits a second Riptide and gets the 1, 2, 3, leaving us with a new Women's World Champion, the rightful Women's World Champion, the Eradicator, Rhea Ripley.
It was a fantastical match. And of course, I'm gonna like it extra because it ends the way I wanted it to end. But the route to get there was a pleasant one. It was good to watch. It was fun.
Oh, and it wasn't even done there. There's some after the victory stuff if you'd like to talk about that.
What you mean? What you mean when she got the belt and then Dominic came back hey girl?
Start there and go all the way through to the other part that proves she wasn't there alone.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So after she won, real talk, Dominic Mysterio gets in the ring for real, guys. He for real gets in the ring, and he's all like, "Girl, come on, girl. You know I love you, girl." And he's got his arms out, like, "Come on, girl." And Rhea puts down the belt, and I'm like, she hugs this dude. I didn't even have to. I had the thought, But the thought that I had in my head was, if she hugs this dude, but it didn't even last because I was like, there's no way she's gonna kick him in the dick. And sure enough, she kicks him right in the dick. She she puts the belt down, she puts her arms out like she's gonna hug him back, and then just yeets his dick right into his rib cage.
Yep, along with both of his favorite chicky nugs.
Yeah, both of his chick bin nuggers are inside of his pelvic bone now. He is literally having sex with himself constantly.
Can you aspirate nuts? Because I think she kicked him right into his lungs. Suffice it to say, like, she kicked him
every time
and
he
he got
burps,
lift.
every time he burps, it's gonna smell like nut now.
Oh,
So
God.
he's gonna have permanent nut breath. Thanks a lot.
Mhm.
And
But
so he rolls out to immediately go to ER.
no. She
And
kicks him in the nuts and then also
oh,
hits him.
that's right. Then she hits him with the her freaking move.
The
Her
riptide.
Can I say the name? Sir?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were struggling to remember the name. My bad.
I twas not. I twerked.
You weren't. My bad. My bad.
The ripple tide. Good ladies and gentlemen.
And it was a good one too.
It was a good one, yeah.
Like this one, she usually goes down with it to go immediately into the pin. On this one against Dom, it was like the difference between a power bomb you're going for a pin and a release power bomb. Like she got him up and just yeeted him into the mat.
Yeah, she yeeted him down to the mat like she was throwing a Pokemon ball. I choose you. I choose you, Mysterio.
Mm-hmm. But
then, as she was making her exit, the lights cut out, and then we heard the dong, and I'm like, wait, what?
Yep.
And the audience is like, the first time it happens, honestly, the audience is like, Nani? Nani the fuck?
Right? Everyone's like, what?
And they even heard the dong, and it's like, what? Huh? And then they hear it again, and it fucking hits them that this is the man. You think, and then the American Badass music cuts on, and we were like, ah! And he comes out, of course, with his motorcycle. He does his lap, and then he goes back up to Rhea, gives her the high five, basically acknowledges her as the champ.
And they both do the over the shoulder look and then look away and put their arms up like a la the Undertaker.
Yeah. And it was just a really cool moment. And then
It was a cool moment.
And then he rode out.
He did. I thought for sure
that she was going to jump on the
she
back.
was going to hop on the back and he was going to ride her off, off the set, like
Yeah.
or the back. And I would have been like, that's cool. But it was still cool. Like he rode away and she held up her title and then walked through the entrance ramp, like gorilla position door. And it was cool. It was really cool. The Undertaker has acknowledged the supremacy of Rhea Ripley.
Agreed. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, all of that was. I think that was what happened. I think that's all that happened
In that match. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and that was it.
What a match! Oh, that was such a satisfying match for
Very
so many
satisfying.
reasons. Oh, it was good.
Yeah. Oh, and that's when we find out. No, I'm sorry. Right after that is when we find out about the person that Gable will be having a match with. Okay, so Kathy Kelly's backstage, and she's having an interview with Adam Pearce. And Pierce, so Pierce, while Kathy is there, Pierce is kind of off in the back talking with Bailey, who's like all suited up, and he was talking to her. It sounded, and I'm just maybe I'm putting on my jump to conclusion pants, but it sounded like she was talking about coming to Raw.
Yeah, I don't think that's an odd conclusion. I mean, what else would Belly be talking to Adam Pierce about if not
Right,
Raw related business?
right.
Otherwise, she'd be talking to Nick Aldis, right?
Yeah.
And they did
Uh,
say there was a whole transition period, or as Raw went to Netflix. So maybe Bailey's becoming a Raw superstar.
mayhaps. We'll see. And Pierce was about to address that, or maybe give us a little bit more information, but he couldn't because he was interrupted by American Made. And Gable wanted Pierce, like he pointed out, he stated that he wants to show everybody that he's not afraid of luchadors. Gable said this, and this is something that's kind of like a connection to what he had said. I think last Monday. Uh, Somebody mentioned that he was afraid of luchadors or something, and he wanted to prove them wrong. So now this episode, he's following up with that, and he's demanding that Pierce send him the very best luchador in the world for a match next week. And Pierce Pierce was like, "Yeah, all right, you got it." And he tells Kathy that he's gonna go make a phone call. Um,
Yep.
and that's we think that's gonna be Penta.
Yep.
And oh my
Now,
god, you have no idea how excited I am about that. You have no idea, guys.
now I know a lot of people would immediately default to the very best luchador in the world. They would immediately think Rey Mysterio, and he is, or he was, right? He is a legend. He is a Hall of Famer. He still can go. But with all of the Pentagon Junior stuff that's been popping around lately, and the fact that we know that unlike Ray Phoenix, Pentagon's contract with AEW is up, and he is signed with WWE, I would highly suspect it would be a great way to introduce him to the WWE universe, to have him show up and completely obliterate Chad Gable.
I absolutely agree. I want this, nay, need this in my life.
Indeed. And that would be pretty outstanding.
After that, and I agree, yes. After that, more people we don't give a shit about. Michael McCool. I'm kidding. Michelle McCool.
Ah, no,
I'm kidding.
you skipped over the PSA about not drinking and driving, though.
There was a PSA about not drinking and driving?
No, remember that they
Oh
showed The
my
Rock leaving
god,
the
that's
arena and
right.
doing his Instagram, and he's got like his, I forget what he calls it, something like
I don't know.
Mana tequila or
Tequila.
something. And
So,
he's drinking tequila, and then he gets in his car, and then he's driving, and he stops and he says, "The Rock will be appearing on NXT tomorrow night."
like, yeah, if you drive home safe, idiot.
Yeah, if you get home or to the hotel or whatever you're doing safely, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I thought, I was like, man, that was one of two things that I thought was done in a little bit bad taste. But nothing so incredulous that I could not enjoy the show. You know,
no,
that
no,
that was one of them.
I'm
It
just
it.
like,
I
kids,
just
watch
thought,
this. Don't
I
drive drunk, y'all.
yeah, I just know that, and yeah, he took 2 sips. I get it, 2 or 3 sips, right? But to show him with an opened bottle of liquor, I thought it was in the front seat with him. I could be tripping balls though. Either way, it wasn't a good look.
No.
And add that to the next thing that happened, actually, the next match, um
Oh yeah, yeah.
which just that was also not a very good look for other reasons, but
Travis Scott.
yeah, but kind of sort of similar. So after The Rock, tells us that he'll be appearing on NXT tomorrow night if he makes it home. We saw Michelle McCool in the ring, Lara Vacuria, Damage Control. We saw all of them in the audience, looking very happy. Io Sky, adorable as always, and bouncy. Um, but then the third match of the night, which is Jey Uso with Travis Scott versus Drew McIntyre, and that almost said Drew Barrymore.
with Drew Barrymore. Oh, that would be a different type of match altogether.
Completely different. But with Drew McIntyre, and the part that I thought was kind of crazy is Jay Uso had Travis Scott, I guess, sort of open for him, but all Travis Scott did was come out to one of his songs and then just stand around and look at people, and not a lot of people really recognized Travis Scott because he was way up at the top, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, coming in
Uh,
through
r-
the high part of the crowd where Jay does.
right. So he just kind of, so the announcement table said who he was, and some people around him were screaming and whatnot. And I guess people, when they started to notice on the Titantron, were like, "Oh yeah, that guy!" Ah, but his song played for maybe 30 seconds, and then Jey Uso's song played, and he didn't, like, Travis didn't rap it, he didn't sing it, he just was there. He was like, "Hey, can I hang out with you and maybe watch you go out to the ring?" And Jay was like, "Yeah, hey, you wanna come out with me?" And they were like, "Yeah." It was just kind of like that, and so and so, down since day one ish, or it's just Muse day one ish, blares and they come down the ring. But before they start, skipping down the ring, like the happiest little wrestler and wrestle fan, uh, Travis is standing up there just like smoking the biggest, just smoking
Fattest blunt.
the biggest, fattest blunt you ever did see, you ever done did saw. And okay, so they were in California, and marijuana is legal for medical and, like, for medicinal and recreational use. Yes. Um, but a couple of, like, glaringly obvious rules are in place, such as you can't smoke in public. And I mean, I don't think it's any more public
Yeah.
than on national.
Then in the Intuit arena. Yeah.
Yeah, in the arena, and you can't smoke around children and things like that. Well, you've already fucked up like twice. Like, I
Yeah.
literally think that my man took the biggest hit and then cone barrel blew that smoke right out of freaking 8-year-old. Like, you,
Yeah. I mean, he was just burning one while Jay Uso was coming out.
like, I think Uso was probably stoned as fuck by the time he got to the ring. Because listen, um, I am no straight edge individual. If you've heard anything that I've
What?
said in this podcast, then you know that I am, or have been in the past. You don't know, a smoker, right? Like, of the marijuanas. Um,
The
I can
married
honestly.
iguanas.
That's right, marijuanas. Now I can tell you, I don't smoke no lame shit, or maybe didn't. Whatever, depends.
Like in the
But
past, a long time ago.
along, yeah, sure, whenever. Pick pick a time, pick a day. I don't care. Um, but I've never been one to smoke something of, lame ass quality. No cap, as the kids say. Um, so I'm sure, and I am not a multi platinum record album maker. Okay, I'm not. So I'm sure that whatever Travis is smoking, could probably grow an extra ear on the back of my head. So I know him blowing smoke at that at that 8-year-old child has. I think that kid is still high.
He's he went into the arena 8, left 23.
I think that kid is still tripping all the colorful balls that ganja would have given it, like, just. So, long story short, pray for that child, everyone. But yeah, so he's just smoking and living his life, and he even raised it in the air, like
At one point, right? He's like, "Check it out, I'm burning a blunt."
he raised that fucking blunt in the air like it was a treasure that he got in fucking Zelda. My man was all dun 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 dun, dun like just high in more ways than one. And then they skipped down to the ring.
Oh, he found the Triforce of Ganja.
Yeah, he did. It wasn't wisdom, that's for goddamn sure. Um,
Ah,
but long story short, let's focus on the match, which was a decent match. There's something that I don't think a lot of people give Jay credit for. Uh, Jay kind of like what's the guy's name with the big head from Judgment Day?
McDonough?
McDonough, Mick Bumblehead. Not unlike McDonough, Jay Uso can take a freaking hit. He can take uh an opponent's move and make it look pretty freaking bad. And I don't think a lot of people give him credit for that because they're up on him, so he's always on upwind status. They never really talk about how he can take a bump, but my man can. Drew was yeeting, no pun intended. He was yeeting the shit out of Jay for a while there,
Like
just
right out the
tossing,
gate.
yeah,
Yeah.
just tossing him around. And Jay not only took bumps inside the ring, but on the apron. Like, I mean, he took some nasty bumps, and he always, especially when he's in a match with Drew, he always takes some bumps. But woof, because I guess they're trying to show that Drew is a psychopath, that he's pretty brutal. Listen, I knew Drew was brutal when he told Sheamus that ever since he was back. Before he left, it used to be banger after banger after banger, but now that he was back, it was more like burger after burger after. I knew my man was a different breed then.
Dead. Yeah, that was great.
When he came back and popped that off, I was like, "Oh, we're not dealing with the same Drew. No, 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 no. This is something else." Um. So I get to try to show him a bit more brutal, and oof, winning. You guys are succeeding. Um. Yeah, he put the hurt on Jay. And
Yep.
for a good long while, he put the hurt on Jay. Um, but I had no doubt that Jay would eventually win because just like the story of Sammy and Drew, and how Sammy just hasn't beaten Drew, just hasn't. Um, Drew hasn't gotten the better of Jay. Um, Jay is always. I mean, Jay. The last time they had a match, I think Jay did more ass handing than he did this match. Like honestly, Drew
Yeah.
Drew tore him up in this one. I think this was the first time that I was like, Jay's still gonna win. He's gonna win, right? um, but no, I thought it was a good match. I thought it was a fun match, but I have to point out that Drew, unlike in other matches with Jay, he really went hard on the paint in this match.
Indeed. Kind of giving a rundown of the match start to finish. So after that long intro, um, Drew McIntyre's music hits, and he's making his way out to the ring. And Jay Uso tries to suicide dive. Well, he successfully suicide dives at him, but McIntyre catches him. And then he drives Jay into the ring apron and then hits him with an overhead belly to belly suplex on the floor. And that gives McIntyre all the time he needs to take off his ring gear instantaneously. I'm telling you, McIntyre used to be a male stripper. Like he threw that kilt like he knew, Magic Mike was playing.
I mean, he did, yeah.
But then he gets Jay back into the ring, and they kind of like go a little bit back and forth, and McIntyre ends up in the turnbuckles. Jay goes for the leaping hip attack, and following that, I think like hits McIntyre with an enziguri. But then McIntyre reverses out of an Irish whip and kicks Jay hard in the ribs, and just like McIntyre hit Jay with the most realistic looking right hand. Like it looked mean.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how else to describe it. It was a mean looking right hand. And then he's mocking Jay, and Jay stands up and they do a little bit of like the chop and haymaker exchange back and forth. And McIntyre, excuse me, gets Jay back into a corner and goes for the top corner mount. So Jay is sitting there with like a face full of Mackin nuts while McIntyre is sitting there punching him. And Jay's like, oh, hell no. And grabs him up and hits a massive sit-out powerbomb. Like, I don't see Jay Uso throw a powerbomb too often, but he threw a beautiful one just here. And so this match is off to a nice, brutal start in the early going. And I want to say Jay is stopping McIntyre at it. Afterwards they get back up and McIntyre is trying to punch him, and Jay's doing that double-handed stop where then he punches back. And at one point Jay goes for the spinning enziguri and connects. And I want to say Jay also ends up hitting a flying crossbody for a 2 count. But then once they're back up on their feet, Jay goes for a clothesline, and McIntyre ducks it and instead reaches behind Jay and grabs him for that quick neck breaker he likes to do. That usually leads into the McIntyre kip up, where they say a guy that big should not be able to move that way. Like, we have seen McIntyre kip up now for like 4 years. We get it. He's a 275-pound man who can do a kip up. We get it. Then McIntyre goes for the Claymore, but Jay counters it with like a running, jumping super kick. Like, I think a flying super kick. And that gets a 2 count. But then Jay goes up top to try and hit the Uso splash. And McIntyre feeds him a pair of authentic Scottish knees to the ribs. And then goes over and picks up Jay and hits him with a spine buster from space. So everything you said about Jay taking some like rough bumps in this one, you ain't wrong.
Yeah.
And after the spine buster, McIntyre has taken to jumping back up and then like rolling the opponent over and grabbing him up for a sit-out powerbomb, and he does that to Jay as well. And that only gets a 2 count as well. And then they're back to, once they get back on their feet, McIntyre and Jay, I almost said Mac and Jay. McIntyre and Jay are trading back and forth shots. And McIntyre hits a big knife edge chop. And there's a point where Jay kind of is like, nah, I'm good on that. And so he goes for the Samoan drop. But McIntyre ends up countering back onto his feet and tries for, I want to say, actually, I don't think that's exactly how I remember it playing out. I think Drew tries to go for a future shock, and then Jay counters into the Samoan drop position, and then McIntyre counters that back into the future shock and actually connects with it. And the future shock looked amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
Got a 2 count though. And then McIntyre once again goes for a Claymore, but Jay counters with a spear and gets a 2 count. And then Jay, I want to say, drills 2 super kicks into McIntyre and goes again for the spear, but McIntyre counters with a big boot. And I want to say after that, Jay once again ducks at that point. Once he gets back up, Jay ducks a clothesline from McIntyre and goes for a spear, but McIntyre counters with a claymore, and we were like, "Oh shit!" Well, it was a good try there, Jay, but Jay kicks out, and McIntyre's like, "What?" So McIntyre then transitions into a ground and pound, and is just trying to go ham on Jay at this point. Like, he's frustrated, he's just punching on him, and he headbutts Jay. And McIntyre is preparing for the Claymore, but Jay ends up collapsing in the center of the ring, and so McIntyre is like kind of taunting about it because, you know, he's standing over Jay, who has collapsed. And so he goes to the corner and just waits for Jay to get to his feet because he wants to try and do the Claymore that never lands, which is the one where he's in the corner and he counts to 3 and everybody always counters it.
Yeah.
So, spoiler, Jay starts to get up, and Drew, instead of waiting for him to be all the way on his feet, launches a Claymore at his head while he's more or less in like a kneeling position. But Jay ducks, and that sends McIntyre kind of floating past him or over him. And this allows Jay to grab him from behind and into a rolling crucifix pin, and he picks up a quick 1, 2, 3. And then he hightails it out of the ring. Like, Jay moved faster than at any other point in the match. The minute the 1, 2, 3 was counted and he got out the ring, he was like, "Oh hell no!" Because Drew got up and came after him, and he was like, "Nope."
Yeah. He's like, "I'm good."
And so Jay Uso picks up the win against Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
Much to Drew McIntyre's chagrin. Per the usual. Angry McIntyre, or it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Or it doesn't make, or it don't make no sense.
Not none. But then, following that excellent match, we hear from the Ring General, who is borrowing a page out of Timeless Tony Storm's book. And I guess that's okay since Timeless has retired. In that he is standing in the ring with his title on his shoulder, and the only thing that's colorized is the title. Otherwise, Gunter and the ring and everything is in black and white.
He's Timeless Gunther now.
Timeless Ring General. And Gunter goes on to say that he's heard everyone declare that they're in a new era. It's a new era for everyone else, but not for me. All their personal problems and emotional outbursts mean nothing to me. I'm still where their dreams, hopes, and ambitions go to die. I'm the light at the end of their tunnel because I hold the prize they all want. I'm the world heavyweight champion. I'm the Ring General, Gunther. And it was a good promo. I remember after seeing it, though, I was like, so he took the effect from Timeless Tony Storm and essentially cut a very similar promo to when we heard from Mariah May. And I was like, I guess he watches AEW and is a fan of those two women.
Yeah.
But to be fair, Gunter was robbed by Christian Cage like the week before about the, I am literally and figuratively talking down to you. So, they can trade. True. It's all good. It was still a cool ass promo, and keep on keeping on, Ring General. Then after that, we see Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns kind of making their exit. And Paul Heyman is singing Roman Reigns' praises about how, you're once again the reigning, defending, undisputed tribal chief, the OTC, from the Isle of Relevancy. And the wise man wants to know what platform would be worthy enough to have a proper tribal chief acknowledgement ceremony. And Roman says January 27th. And I was like, ooh, what's happening on my birthday? Because that's my birthday. And they proceed to walk into their locker room, but in the as they close the door, there's a huge logo for WWE 2K25 on the door. And so we were like, oh? What's happening
Nani?
January 27th then? Is 2K25 going to come out in January? Like end of January?
That'd be crazy.
That would be amazing. Or at least maybe some big promotional material. Because in the past, I think they've come out closer to like March or April, like as we get a little closer to WrestleMania.
Closer to WrestleMania. There you go.
But hey, I won't complain if they release 2K25 on the 27th.
I will if it's gonna be all buggy and shit.
Well, I mean, if it's not, if the difference is only 2 months and that would be the difference between buggy or not, that would be insane. Like, that's the difference between them adding a new character, maybe, in that time frame.
That's you.
I'm just saying. Like, the game at that point would be certified in gold, and all they're doing is promotional material that close to the launch.
mean, it better. That's all I'm saying. It motherfucking better. That's all.
Well, at any rate, they said January 27th, and then they showed 2K25.
I'd still be down for it. I'd still buy it. I'd still play. I'd still play it. Just
And
no cap.
It makes me wonder if they're not releasing the game on January 27th, maybe January 27th, they're letting you know that perhaps the tribal chief Roman Reigns is the cover star for 2K25.
That's also possible.
And so maybe there'll be a whole big promotional package about, like, acknowledge me.
I'm here for it. Acknowledgement incoming.
I'll acknowledge that. Just the same way I'd believe that, Roman.
Yep. No.
Yes.
No.
I said it. I don't regret it. Then we find out that next week on Raw, Dakota Kai will battle Lyra Valkyria in the finals of the inaugural WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship tournament. And I mean, as cool as it was for Chelsea Green to win the US title, who among these two do you suppose is going to become the first Intercontinental Women's Champion?
Who do I think's gonna win?
Yeah, out of Dakota Kai and Lyra Valkyria.
I think it's gonna be Lyra Valkyria.
I think if it is a straightforward match, Lyra Valkyria all day. Because, no offense, Dakota, Lyra's just better. But if Dakota Kai leverages damage control, then it could be Dakota Kai.
Yeah, but damage control are kind of faces right now. I don't know if they would help her like that.
They might.
They might. They might. You're right.
So
If they
we shall
did,
see.
then yeah. If they did, if they were gonna go old school, heel, then yeah, they'd help her. And if they did, she'd totally win.
Yeah. So I'm watching that with interest either way. But my pick is Lyra Valkyria. Because the only path that I see Dakota Kai winning against Lyra Valkyria would be if damage control interfered, because Lyra is that much better. I mean, she's really good.
Yeah. I am in agreement.
We're also informed that next week on Raw, Sheamus will be colliding and reigniting his feud with Ludwig Kaiser. And that could be cool.
Could be cool.
Maybe they have to kill one another, and whoever survives gets to challenge Braun Breaker one-on-one.
I'm here for it.
Oh, and not for nothing, Damian Priest will be in a street fight, which I'm curious about, but he'll be in a street fight with Finn Balor. And what I'm curious about is if their street fights can maybe, like, I don't need them to come up to where AEW is, like with the mega violence, like putting syringes through people's faces and stuff. I like that. I do, but I like it over in AEW. But I would like WWE to hit sort of a middle ground where it's a little bit better than what their street fights have been in the past, which sometimes only extends to we went up the ramp and back.
Yeah.
Maybe they could do a little more with the street fight is all I'm saying. Like, it doesn't have to become the barbed wire death match, but it would be cool if it was a little bit more than what it's been in the past.
Yeah. Agreed.
Well, oh, and then we had the boo-a-thon of the night.
Huh.
This did not go well. Then Hulk Hogan's music starts playing, Real American. And anybody who was from the 80s would be like, "Oh shit," because Hulk Hogan like is who might have been your hero back in the 80s in the first big push of WWE back in the day.
Yeah.
But here in Los Angeles, which is, probably for a variety of reasons. I don't know. I won't speculate on the reasons why this happened, but Hulk Hogan comes out with Jimmy Mouth of the South Hart, mind you. So it's like all set for nostalgia. And Hulk Hogan is like limping out there because he's 71 and I think had a hip replacement. But he's coming out to try and do his shtick. And they won't let him say shit without booing him up one side and down the other. And he says, he was like, it was so ironic too, because he basically says he's been in this business for over 40 years, and the greatest part of his life was being part of the WWE. And he says he's had a lot of tag team partners over the years, but you fans have been my greatest tag team partner. And they're all like, boo, boo this. And he's all like, oh. And I mean, to his credit, he just kept going. Like, he was like, okay, I'm just going to get through my lines. And he goes on to say, you guys stuck with me through thick and thin, dudes. Nope. They're booing. And he goes, I got a new tag team partner right now. I got Hulk Hogan's Real American Beer, and I've teamed up with WWE. And they were like, boo. He goes on, in the past, I've had a whole bunch of partners down the line, like Macho Man, Randy Savage, and Andre the Giant. And they're like, I thought maybe they would cheer at hearing Randy Savage or Andre. They're like, boo. And he says, but the greatest tag team partner the WWE has ever had starting tonight is, we're making history. WWE's teamed up with Netflix, WWE and Netflix, the greatest tag team of all time. And so then he, like, with a mic in one hand, he tries to rip open his little shirt, and underneath it
Oh
is another.
no.
No, he pulls that off. Like, that wasn't
Oh.
it was just the fact that he was doing it to the crowd just uniformly booing the shit out of him. So he does the whole rip the shirt off thing, and it's the WWE and Netflix. And he says, what you gonna do when WWE and Netflix run wild on you, maniacs? And they're just boo, boo, hiss, boo. And like two fans near the front, because he never left the entrance ramp. Like, there was no reason for him to go any further than that. Like, two fans are like doing the poses, and so he does like one or two poses and then turns around and leaves. And it's like the crowd is not feeling any of this. They booed him out of the arena. Like,
Oh my God, I'm so
Dominic
sorry.
Mysterio saw that and went, damn.
Oh, you're trying to kill me.
I mean, that's just how it played out. So I believe we've gotten the answer. What they're gonna do, what you gonna do, brother, is boo you
boo
until
you.
you leave.
Oh my God.
It
Oh.
was rough. It was a rough thing to see.
Whew. I need water after that.
But after that, we are led to the fourth and final main event match of the night, which is CM Punk versus Seth freaking Rollins.
Whew.
And once you get your bearings, was there anything you wanted to say about this match?
Yeah, I will say that it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It's funny. I don't really like CM Punk, and yet whenever he's in a match, I feel almost nervous for him.
Right?
You know what I mean? Like, like he's not my favorite, but I still find myself hoping that this dude fucking succeeds here. Just get in the
Well,
ring, just do a match. Just do a match, man. Do a fucking match. Don't get hurt. Stop it.
well, I don't think that's an unfounded fear. I mean, in his last little while with AEW, they couldn't put the title on him because he would break his foot or
Yeah,
something, and then his tricep again. And his tricep was still giving him trouble when he came to the WWE. In his first year, I think he was 14 months, like he's been there 14 months, and I think he spent half of that or more on the shelf recovering from, they said it happened in the Royal Rumble, but I think he was still recovering from what had happened in AEW. And he finally is healthy. And so it's like at any moment we're like, don't do something that's going to put you back on the shelf, dude.
yeah, please, please, and thank you. Um, but that could be literally anything, since all he did was jump into the audience
Yeah, yeah.
and
Well,
hurt
oh, that
himself.
first foot injury, yeah, where he was
Right.
trying to crowd surf and he bashed his foot on the barricade, I think.
So yeah, so it could be freaking anything that takes his dumb little leg out or something.
I was
Uh,
worried about
but
one
but the
spot in this
problem
match.
the problem with that is, if I didn't, like, I don't like him, right? So then why should I worry or be nervous for him? Why should I care? Just like either fuck up, go home, or get the match done and go home. It should be no never mind to me. But for some reason, I watch him and I find myself just thinking like, come on, man, don't fuck this up. Just get this done. Come on, just get it done.
Yeah, well, I think that's because you're still rooting for him because you're a decent human being. You know, like we don't have to be fans to say we don't want to see the guy get injured.
Yeah, I
Like,
am not.
you know
I'm
what I
not here for
mean?
that. Yeah, I'm not here for
And you
that.
and I both know we watched it. It was tragic what happened in AEW. And I
Yeah,
mean, not just because of his injuries, but because he just ran his mouth so that he had no goodwill left. And then, yeah, I mean, just it was pathetic. And
yeah,
so we kind of know that this is kind of it for one CM Punk. Like he's got to make this work. And so, you know, he might be a dick. We're not. So I'm not sitting here rooting for him to fail. And I don't think you are either.
yeah. I am not.
And I mean, if he's going to do this, then do this, you know?
Yeah,
Because now you're in the WWE and you're in there with guys like McIntyre, you're in there with Seth Rollins, and these are some of their greatest guys. So don't stink up the joint. You know what I mean? And he didn't. I will be absolutely fair to CM Punk. In this match, he did very well. There was one spot I was a little worried he might hurt himself on. There was a point where I want to say Seth Rollins kind of tossed him over the top rope, or no, he went for a not a suicide dive, but an over the top rope. Uh, I think they call it a slingshot pescado, but basically it's over the top rope kind of crossbody to a
hmm,
standing opponent below you.
hmm.
And Seth Rollins, like Samoa Joe style, noped out of that one. And so CM Punk just went straight to the ground, feet
Oh,
first,
yeah,
and
the
he had a
slingshot
heck of a
pescado.
fall. Like he landed hard, and I'm like,
Hmm.
well, that's where he broke his foot again. So I was like, dude, you know, so yeah, we're kind of watching for it because like he's been fragile in the past.
Yeah. But that's really all I want to say is that um I find myself quietly rooting for him, and I kind of did tonight. He did not disappoint. Um I think he held his own. I think he did a little bit more than hold his own. I thought he looked really good. I thought he looked good
No,
out there.
this
I thought him and Seth worked very well together, and they looked very good together. Like they must either really like each other or really hate each other. Either way, the chemistry is there.
yeah. No, they worked very well in the ring together. And
Yeah,
I think it's a little bit easier go for CM Punk because Rollins is closer to Punk's style. Like it's a
yeah,
lot more striking, and he's because their sizes are not terribly different. It's easier for Punk to be able to do, you know, the moves he wants to do to someone like Seth Rollins. And just to kind of hit the high spots of this particular match, it was a match of trading each other's finishers. I want to say CM Punk attempted to go to sleep and Rollins got out of it. But then shortly after, Rollins ends up hitting the go to sleep on Punk, but it ends up Punk rolls out of the ring. And that wasn't the first or only time they ended up trading that. And, you know, there was a point where I think Rollins went out after him and he throws Punk back in. And I forget why he stayed out of the ring for a little bit, but he finally gets back in the ring and Punk hits him with a stomp. And we were like, oh shit, you know, they're trading each other's finishers. And we're like, that's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's fair. You hit him with the go to sleep. But I want to say later on in the match, Rollins hit him with it again. And this time it was in the ring. The go to sleep, mind you, not the curb stomp. Because every time Seth Rollins, I think, tried to go for the curb stomp, I want to say Punk avoided most of them. Like he ducked out of the way or rolled out of the ring. But he does get hit with another GTS, but he only gets a 2 count. And we were like, well, I guess to go to sleep's a shitty move. No, it's a shitty move, I guess, if Punk doesn't do it.
Yes.
And they just kind of kept going back and forth with these trading of moves.
Excuse me. Yeah.
And let's see. As they get a little deeper into the match, I want to say Punk goes for the GTS. There was a point where they end up outside the ring. I forget exactly when, but there was a point that they go outside the ring and they clear off the table. And Seth Rollins does the pedigree to Punk. It looked initially like Punk was going to do the go to sleep on top of the table because he countered that. But then Seth Rollins, shimmies out of the fireman's carry position. And when Punk turns around, he gets a kick to the gut that leads to a pedigree. And these tables, again, like brand new lacquer, these things are solid. Table did not play along.
No.
And Seth Rollins immediately jumps, off the table after that and is stumbling around like his knee is killing him. And it looked like it should. So what does Rollins next do? The thing that makes the most sense is to roll CM Punk back into the ring and hit him with yet another pedigree. Because that's a good idea when your knee is destroyed.
Yeah.
But that second pedigree only leads to a 2 count. And let's see. Yep. And then they get back on their feet, and I think they did a strike exchange for a little bit. Actually, was this? Let's see. Because there was a point where both men were kind of on their knees, and I'm wondering if that's when that strike exchange took place. It started out with them hitting each other, I think, on their knees, and then they got up and into a more of a strike exchange. And I want to say Rollins ends up hitting a rolling elbow, and Punk's response was a roundhouse kick. And Punk goes for the running high knee, but Rollins counters with a turnbuckle bomb. And from there, Rollins connects with the curb stomp. And we saw this, and we were like, what are you doing? Because he lands not far from the ropes. And Rollins, instead of rolling him over because he was face down, instead of rolling him over towards the center of the ring, he rolls him closer to the fucking ropes.
Oh, yes.
And we were like, we can see from space that Punk's going to grab or put a foot on the rope. And that's exactly what he does. He puts his foot on the middle rope. And so Rollins picks Punk up and gets him up on the top turnbuckle. And Punk hits Rollins with, I think, a big palm strike. And Rollins goes for the superplex and then wants to combo it into the Falcon Arrow. But Punk counters into a go to sleep. And then he picks Rollins back up and hits him with a second go to sleep. And that's the match.
Yeah, actually, remember after he gave him the go to sleep the first time, Seth, he's still on like on a knee, CM Punk is. And Seth stumbles around, bounces off of the
Oh
rope
right, yeah,
basically falls on
like
top
into
of
the fireman's
CM
carry
Punk.
position.
Yeah,
Yep.
like falls into CM Punk's loving arms, just bloop, and
Yeah,
CM
yeah.
Punk
You're right.
uh struggles just for a second, and gets him
And then
situated
muscles him up.
and muscles him up and gives him another one. And I was like,
Yep.
all right, props CM Punk.
Yeah.
This is respectable.
And so straight up, the winner is CM Punk in this particular grudge match. So
And I had said from the get go, this was a match that CM Punk had to win. Even though they were trying to say that Rollins was the kid and CM Punk was the older one, and I know because I heard CM Punk reference his age like 18 million times.
yeah, 46 is just a number.
We get it. 46 is just God, calm down, bro. But
I think that's like the median age in WWE's roster right now. So I don't know what you're grousing about.
so it's like, yeah, it sure is. Good job. Um, good job. So
But
I know that it was supposed to be, set up that way, and maybe it was time for the student to show the teacher that he could do it. But I that was not the vibe that I was picking up on. This was, in my honest opinion, a match that CM Punk needed to win. And he did. So
yep.
I had no complaints about who won.
No, and it was a very good match between the two of them.
Mhm.
CM Punk looked good. Seth Rollins always looks good.
Mhm.
No complaints. Now, it went off the air with both men down on the mat. We had to look a little bit after the fact because apparently there was like a brief interview. I want to say Jackie Redmond, I think.
Think so. Yeah.
And I want to say she, I think, asked him two major questions. One, what did this victory on the first Raw on Netflix mean to you? And I think he took the opportunity to say it means a lot. He did it for several people, including himself. And, to the people that doubted him, how do you like me now? Look at me now. Um, and then I think she asked him, something like, what's next, or what do you, what's up with you in 2025? And he says he's coming for all the gold in 2025. Cody, I'm coming for you. Gunter, I'm coming for you. And WrestleMania. So, and I think he said he's going to attempt to win the Royal Rumble. So him and John Cena are going to clash up, I'm sure, because they both
Yeah.
want that. But presumably, so does every one of the 30 wrestlers that are in the
Right.
Rumble. So we shall see. But it was pretty damned epic, this
Mhm.
episode of Raw. Like, this really felt like a PLE.
It did. Yeah.
And I was impressed with it. But, ladies first, how would you review this WWE Raw on Netflix?
Because this felt so over the top. It felt like such like I honestly they could have given this a different name the way AEW gives their Dynamite shows different names sometimes, where it's like, winter is coming and it's like, it's just Dynamite, dude. Um they could have called this anything. They could have called this like, uh
New Year's on Netflix.
yeah, they could have called this the New Year's Brawl or some shit. And it would have just, I'm like, was an amazing PLE. Because that was the vibe. Everything was larger than life.
Yeah.
The stage, the just like the special effects they had set up, like the rigs they had going, like this was like a fucking musical concert. Like this was an epic. They went all out, And because of that, because of just how larger than life it felt, and the matches were good, but the match, like this was so over the top that the matches had to just kind of, they had to meet, they had to kind of try to get up there to where the opener by itself was just a fucking whole vibe.
Yeah, like from the beginning, it was at that level.
Yeah, I'm going to give this 9 neck nubs. There was so much. It was cram packed with action, um, story progression happened. Yeah, this gave me everything that I wanted. The promos were good. Um, I think I'm gonna get to see uh uh Penta soon.
Yeah.
So yeah, nine solid dick dubs. Dare I say, I'll don't fucking get me started. I'll fucking throw in 5 more. I
Just
thought
all
it
the
was,
neck nubs.
I thought it was really good. So nine for sure.
Are you sure you're sticking with a 9?
I'm sticking with it.
All right. Then from my take, I'm gonna give this a 10. And it's rare that I would say that about TV, but like I said, this was like a PLE. And this was about as perfect as it could get. Yes, there were some little goofy things, but I think all of them were planned. Like I think, oh, I'm blanking on his name. The rapper that came out with Jay.
Oh, Travis
Scott. There we go. Thank you. Here's what I knew about Travis Scott prior to tonight: that McDonald's had a meal named after him. That's it. I'm not. I am not the right guy to ask who this man is, but aside from him holding up a blunt, which I think they must have planned, this was about as perfect as it gets. I mean, from the beginning, Triple H's opener was monumentally huge. Like Triple H is not just the king of kings; he is the ultimate ringmaster in what is, in fact, the greatest show on earth. Sorry, Ringling Brothers.
Yeah.
And you followed that up with The Rock. Then you followed that up with Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa in Tribal Combat, and Roman wins. So it was a deeply satisfying victory, because Roman is who everyone wanted to see win that. I mean, the crowd was booing Solo the whole time. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't stop there. Like that could have been the main event for any other show anywhere, and that's what they opened with.
Yeah.
The vignettes were perfect. The who's who in the crowd was a bit of nostalgia, plus getting to see some of the superstars that weren't necessarily on the card, like Rey Mysterio, LA Knight, the War Raiders. There was even a little skit with Gabriel Iglesias coming back to talk to, I don't think it was Kathy Kelly, but I can't remember the other gal's name off the top of my head. But they snubbed, Gabriel Iglesias was given the opportunity to snub the New Day, and it was hilarious.
Yeah.
And then you follow that up with John Cena coming out, and it's the start of his farewell tour, and that was hype. And then, you end up with our second match, which is, I mean, it's tough for me to say whether I would give match of the night to Roman Solo or Raquel. Not Raquel, I'm sorry. Liv and Rhea. I mean, they're right there. But for importance, I would say it's great. We had a title change. Rhea Ripley's the new Women's World Champion. And then on the end of that, on top of the fact that the match was incredibly satisfying and a really good match, you had just an appearance by The Undertaker. I mean, they went all out. They could have called this, WWE RAW All Out, except that I think AEW already has that. everything was just amazing. Jey Uso and Drew McIntyre was a solid match. It wasn't like super high stakes, but it was a bit of a grudge match since Drew McIntyre's on like this vendetta against everybody who had anything to do with Roman Reigns, but still somehow didn't come out and interfere in the one match where he could and screw Roman Reigns over. So I don't know how that works. KO did though.
Yep.
And you had Gunter's promo, Hulk Hogan getting booed out of the arena. That's either a positive or a negative. I thought it was funny but surprising. And then you had a remarkably good match between CM Punk and Seth Rollins, which was just a grudge match as the main event. And it was a hell of a match where they both traded each other's finishers, and it was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine what more they could have done to make that any better than it was. And so I'm giving it a 10 out of 10 neck nubs. This was absolutely top tier. So with that said, that has been our coverage of WWE's inaugural Raw on Netflix. And it was amazing. If you get a chance, if you happen to have Netflix, you can go back and watch it. I'd highly recommend it. It was a show. Like this show in 2025 is setting the tone for every other PLE, including WrestleMania. They're going to have to be at least this good.
Yeah. I don't know what the fuck they're
crazy.
going to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I want to thank everybody who joined us for this episode, and I hope you will join us for our next episode. And until then, I don't think there's much left for me to do but roll the credits.
Hi, guys. Hi, guys. Bye, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Top Tier Wrestling. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the latest AEW and WWE news and shows. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. Follow us on social media for updates and to join the conversation. Until next time, everyone, remember, wrestling is always better when it's top tier.